everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney, and welcome back to another Sunday sew along. I had promised to do a video on how to do fabric and pattern layouts. That'll actually be next Sunday. I wanted to do this video this Sunday just because a lot of people had questions on interfacing and how it pertained to the Canton, this Cashmerette Canton, and I just wanted to highlight that now before the, well, I mean, the Canton's for sale forever, but if you were interested in the all access, to get it free with the all access tier, that does end on Friday this week, the 31st. I think that's Friday this week. So I just wanted to make sure and get this one in first. So next Sunday, I'll be talking about how I lay out my fabric and that sort of thing. Okay, I get questions all the time on interfacing, so we're just gonna kind of go through some of my favorites. Now, I use interfacing that's available to me here in the US, so I know that a lot of this can be shipped overseas, especially the Palmer Pletsch. I'm not sure about the Fashion Sewing Supply. I would have to check that, and I'm also not sure on international shipping, so I really apologize. But if you have some recommendations and if you live elsewhere outside of North America and you have some interfacings that you love, definitely leave those down in the comments below so that we can all kind of know what everyone is using. But I was just going to really quickly go over some of my favorite types of interfacing, the stuff that I keep in my stash at all times, and kind of why. And also talk you through the two different brands that I use. Okay, so let's start. We'll start with Palmer Pletsch. So I, gosh, got hooked on Palmer Pletsch interfacings. Gosh, it's been a few years now, and I had a dealer close to me, but you can order off their site and stuff as well. And their Perfect Fuse is absolutely lovely. The things that I like about Palmer Pletsch interfacing are that they come in wide width, so they're 60 inches wide, and then you buy them by, I think, 1 yard bundles or 3 yard bundles. They come in, I don't think any come in like a beige. I think they're all either white or black. But I love these and use these you know, pretty regularly. Now, as I'm running out of these, I have been replacing them with Fashion Sewing Supply, only because I no longer, it's easier now for me to get it from Fashion Sewing Supply. So, but I would say they're very similar. So either, you know, just whatever you can easily get your hands on. But when it comes to the Palmer Pletsch, my favorite to use are the Perfect Fuse Shear and the Perfect Fuse Medium. I, of course, will leave links down to all of these products down below, so if you want to go take a look for yourself, you can. And I buy them in the white and in the black. Now, I don't have any of the Perfect Fuse Medium right now, but the Perfect Fuse Shear, as you can see, is very sheer. So those are really the only two that I keep in my stash all the time. I just always make sure I have some. The Perfect Fuse Shear is wonderful for anything with drape. So if I'm doing a like a button-down blouse or something that's in a lighter weight fabric, so a rayon or a silk or, you know, a crepe of some sort, I will use the Perfect Fuse Shear for my button bands. If there's a collar, I'll use it on that. It just gives you some stability, but it also keeps the fabric drape. You know, it doesn't get too stiff for the rest of the garment. Alternatively, I also use the Perfect Fuse Shear on my knits. So if I'm doing an interfacing, most of the time you don't want the stretch. That's why you're interfacing that part of the knit. So I like this really lightweight stuff because no matter the weight of my knit, it takes the stretch out of the knit, which is really what you're wanting for the knit project. And yeah, without making it bulky. So I use the Perfect Fuse Shear with my knits as well. I just think it's really, really lovely. Again, I don't have any of the Perfect Fuse Medium here with me, but with that, I use that for, and these are all weft fusibles. Well, and you know, and it says on here too, the Perfect Fuse Shear, ideal for silky blouse weights and cotton shirtings as well as knits. So there you go. It even tells you right there. For the Perfect Fuse Medium though, I use that a lot on my bottom weights, so on my waistbands, on my flies, when I'm interfacing like around the zippers of flies, jackets, even my, with my button-up shirts, it depends. Cotton lawns, a lot of times I'll just use the Perfect Fuse shear and that is enough, and it makes things not, you know, get too bulky or that sort of thing. But if I'm using a little bit heavier weight shirting fabric, so the cotton shirting that I really love from Style Maker Fabrics, I made my cream colored button-up shirt, my classic shirt, and I made my daughter one in white. I did use the medium fuse for that one, just a little bit heavier, and it kind of goes with that heavier shirting weight fabric a little bit better. Alternatively, denim, although I don't interface my jean waistbands at all. I put stay tape in the top, but I don't interface them. And if you look at anything ready to wear and take those apart, there's usually just a little interfacing behind the button and the buttonhole, and that's it. But for the fly area, I'll interface that with the medium fuse. Again, jackets, facings on jackets. For my Canton specifically, I used what is similar to the Perfect Fuse medium. I'll show you exactly what I used here in just a second, but just a little bit heavier, and that's really great for your facings, for your hems, on those type of jackets, and also to reinforce any of the zippered pockets and that sort of thing. So the medium is where I would use for that. So that's kind of the Palmer Pletsch, the two Palmer Pletches that I use pretty regularly. Now, Fashion Sewing Supply, they have a ton of sew-in and fusible interfacings, and you can actually buy an interfacing swatch kit here if you are interested. And it comes with the most wonderful rundown of all the interfacings that they carry and what they would be used for. So if you are a newbie and you're really trying to figure out interfacing, I highly recommend grabbing this. I think it was 10 bucks for the entire little swatch set, which could be really easy for a lot of your projects. But don't let it overwhelm you, because you don't need all of these. We'll talk a little bit about here at the end about some outliers and where I need extra than these. But I have found that I use mostly their Sheer Elegance Light, which is right here, which is very similar to the Perfect Fuse. It comes in white and black, and this one might come in an ecru too. I think it's just white and black. Again, this is very wide. It is absolutely lovely to work with. Neither of these need to be shrunk before you use them. Both of these have been pre-shrunk, so you don't need to shrink anything, which makes them really easy to use. But I would use this Perfect Fuse or Pro Sheer Elegance Light the same way as the Perfect Fuse Light. So a lot of times on my knits, on my rayons, on my silks, even cotton lawns in some instances, this stuff is really, really great. I don't have any with me, but the Fashion Sewing Supply also has a shirt crisp. I think that's what it's called, for like men's shirts, like really crisp iron-on interfacing. Now I use, and they have a couple of different weights of it. It is very crisp. So if you're making, I'm talking like a men's dress shirt where you want that collar to be like really stiff, it's great for that. It's really, really great. And same with the cuffs. I find it to be a little much for what I'm looking for. So another option, and if I were using, is this right here? And this is the Sheer Elegance. Hold on, I've got like the stickers on here. This is the Pro Sheer Elegance medium weight. So this is typically, so the lightweight I'm using on my lighter stuff, the medium weight I'm using on, you know, a lot of my cotton button-up shirts. So this is about as stiff as I want to get. I've used the shirt crisp before, and it's lovely. And if that's what you're wanting, it's fantastic. I just find it a little much for the clothing that I wear and my preference and how stiff my collars and cuffs are. So yes, the medium weight is wonderful if you're doing stuff you want a little bit more body, but again, this is mostly blouses and that sort of thing. And then finally here, I have the, this is the Proweft Supreme medium. So this is more your tailoring weight. Like this you can't even really see through. So this is the stuff that I would use, and this is exactly what I used on my canton. So for your facings, for your hems, if I were doing a blazer or a jacket, this is what I would use on that. I do a lot of soft tailoring. I mean, even my blazers and stuff, while there is some horsehair canvas that happens when you get into blazers, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But for the most part, with the tailoring that I do, this works perfectly. It's great for waistbands, flies, if you're reinforcing like zippers. Now, dress zippers and that sort of thing, I just use, you know, lightweight interfacing for that. But if you're doing like the moto jacket style zippered, welt pockets, you know, zippers on your sleeves, I like the heavier stuff. So this is about as heavy as I like to go, and it is the, what did I say? The Pro, again, I'll leave links down to all these below. The Proweft Supreme Medium is about as heavy as I need to go with 90% of my things. So having these three things in my stash and maybe having black and white in each is really all I ever use. Very rarely do I need to go into more. Now, Fashion Sew and Supply also has a tricot or a stretchable interfacing. So if you are interfacing, and I would think this would be maybe a little more applicable to if you were doing maybe some knit embroidery or something where you still want the give of the fabric. I just don't do a lot with interfacing my knits where I need it to stretch. Usually if I'm interfacing my knits, I want to take the stretch out for that little portion, whether it be a collar or a facing or something along those lines. But if you are wanting a little bit of stretch, their fusible, their tricot knit fusible is wonderful. She sent me a little sample of it when I ordered a whole bunch for my shirt making class back in the fall, and it was really, really lovely. So if you are wanting to maintain some of the stretch in your fabric, it is absolutely wonderful. So that's maybe a specialty one that you could look into and maybe play around with later. Alternatively, if you are doing like, well, honestly, if you're doing like a Jessica blazer or the Auburn blazer or one of those big projects where you're going to need a little bit of horsehair canvas and maybe a couple of different weights, I honestly just recommend buying the kits that come with those. Those pattern companies, independent pattern companies are really good about selling the kits that go along. So if you are planning to tackle a project like that, I mean, buy the kit. That being said, Fashion Sewing Supply does have some horsehair canvas that they sell, which usually is just to fill out, you know, here. It's just a little more technical, so not something you need in your stash at any given time, but it is nice to know that they do have those specialties. And that's where the little fabric sample kit can also come in really nicely because they've got all of their stuff in those little kits. So you can kind of get a feel for it, make sure it's what you want for your project. But if you're a newbie, still learning about interfacings, that is what I would keep in my stash. A lightweight shear, a medium weight shear, you know, you can kind of get away with, and then a medium, just a medium weight. So just like it's the Weft Supreme, so a little bit heavier weight. Those three, and maybe a white and a black, and you are good for 95% of your sewing. Those are the ones that I keep in my stash at any given time, and I'm able to do most of my projects, you know, again, unless I'm doing a very detailed tailoring project where I may need to order a little something else, but for the most part, those get me through everything. So hopefully this video was helpful in helping you decide on what interfacings that you may want to keep in your stash, especially if you're ordering overseas and you want to, you know, make good use and, you know, order a whole bunch and just make sure that you're not, you know, doing one big order as opposed to multiple orders because of shipping costs and that sort of thing. That is what I would keep in my stash if I were you. I think that's all I've got for today. Again, I apologize that it wasn't the fabric cutting video. That will be up next Sunday, so definitely come back for that one. What else do we have coming up? We have Jenny's spring capsule plans coming up on Tuesday. And then on Friday, we've got my March to Stashify makes, and my fabric haul will be coming up on Friday's video. So that's what we kind of have to look forward to. And then we've got some really fun plans videos that are coming up. I've been very busy behind the scenes, as you guys know, with some stuff, you know, with this fitting class that I put out, and I did that big sew along for Cashmerette, which if you're interested in making the Canton, I have a full sew along on the channel, and I will pop the links down to it says 6-part if you are interested in that pattern. Also, remember, if you are interested in the Canton, getting it free with their all access club tier, that is only, you can only get that free through the end of the month, and my code Tomcat will get you an additional $9 off that all access fee. So all access you buy by the year, and I think it's discounted 20% already. My code actually discounts at 25% from the original price, so that just takes an extra $9 off that if you are interested. Or you can just go buy the Canton by itself. That's still available as well. Okay guys, I think that's all I've got. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I am ready to get back. I've not been doing much sewing because I've just been so busy behind the scenes. So I'm very ready to, in April, be tackling a lot of actually selfless sewing in April, with sewing for my kids, getting ready for our Italy trip. As well as, and we'll talk a little bit on Tuesday about with Jenny's stuff, I'm going to be doing a little sewing for her as well. Okay guys, that's all I have. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you again on Tuesday.